Mr. President, Town Councilors, thank you for the opportunity to address you on an important topic, communication with the public, as per my email to you via the Town Clerk last week, which is on the agenda. Communication with the public is a critical part of good government. Freedom of speech is appropriately held dear by all Americans. However, this freedom comes with responsibility. Your solicitor has informed you of this fact. The Supreme Court has told us that one has a responsibility to ensure that speech is a statement of fact. Knowingly making false statements and sometimes even statements of a false factual connotation can be punishable by law. My intent in coming here today is not to make a legal argument, as others will do that for me if need be. Rather, I am here to appeal to your decency as human beings and leaders of our town. Mr. Lombardo has come before you at this podium in a forum that you provide and personally attacked me and my family. They're sitting here this evening. You can criticize my work on the school committee all you want, but investigating my wife and daughter and intentionally misrepresenting their qualifications is reprehensible. You have allowed modern-day McCarthyism to flourish in our town. In fact, I believe that some of you have even been party to Mr. Lombardo's theatrics, but that can come out with depositions. McCarthyism is the practice of making unfair allegations or using unfair investigative techniques, especially in order to restrict dissent or political criticism. My daughter is sitting here today. She's right there. I'm proud of her, as many of you know. She's smart as a whip and tough as nails. A Dean's List student receiving awards from leadership from her college and has worked in several parts of the country on service trips to help underprivileged communities. She came home from college in May and had a few weeks before she started her summer job. 3 recess aides resigned from State Street School just prior to the end of the academic year. The principal of the school was in urgent need of substitute recess aides to supervise students. The principal asked my daughter if she would be able to fill in as a substitute recess aide. The qualifications of this job are that one has some experience supervising children and a high school diploma. She far exceeds these qualifications. Mr. Lombardo would have you believe that I waved my magic wand and created a job for her. How would you feel if that happened to your beautiful children, Dominica, Annie, or Elizabeth? This is pure bovine scatology. I don't even know the person in charge of hiring people for the district. Never met her. Do you believe a made-up story, or do you care about the truth? My wife works for the district part-time under a federal grant. She started in 2002, 6 years before I became a member of the school committee. In fact, I wrote down in my application to the then town council that my wife worked for the district when I was appointed unanimously by that town council. I'm sure the document's on file somewhere in this building. I've recused myself on a few votes that come before the committee that concern my wife, and yes, Mr. Selico, I even left the room, something you taught me. A practice I don't see consistently honored by this council. Mr. Lombardo would have you believe that I again waved my magic wand and influenced her getting a part-time job 6 years before I was on the committee. Really? Do you believe a made-up story, or do you care about the truth? Mr. Lombardo came to your podium and suggested I was corrupt because I notarized a document for Mr. Ritacco, and it didn't look right. Really? The standards of conduct for notaries public from the Secretary of State's office states that, quote, a notary public has neither the duty nor the authority to investigate, ascertain, or attest to the lawfulness, propriety, accuracy, or truthfulness of a document or transaction involving a notarial act, unquote. Mr. Gagne could write a letter stating that he is the King of France, sign it, and I could notarize it. Perhaps Mr. Lombardo missed this class in law school. It's more likely that he knows it full well that a notary public only verifies a signature. Why would he come before you and claim otherwise? It demonstrates malicious intent, and you are complicit in these statements. Do you believe a made-up story, or do you care about the truth? Contract negotiations get discussed by Mr. Lombardo. He claims that I removed Mr. Selico and Mr. Goodman from negotiations and enriched the laborers' union in exchange for my role at the Community College of Rhode Island. The fact is that Mr. Carson and Mr. Nardone negotiated the contract with the laborers' union and did a very good job. The current laborers' contract provides for a 1% raise to some of the lowest paid employees in the district, hardly enriching by any standard. The contract was approved by the school committee, of which I was one of 7 votes. I provided 9 references when I applied for my role at the community college. 7 business references and 2 members of the General Assembly with whom I had done some volunteer work, Senator Dennis Algier and Senator Frank Chacon. Mr. Chacon did not even work for the laborers' union when I was hired. In fact, the search committee did not even contact the 2 General Assembly members for comment. They relied on my 7 business references. I included Senators Algier and Chacon. As part of my job duties is to interact with the General Assembly on budget matters. Mr. Selico and Mr. Goodman declined the appointment when I asked them to work with me on contract negotiations. It's all in the video and minutes. Mr. Selico and Mr. Goodman wanted to exclude other members, including me as chairman, but that's a point for another day. You're entitled to your opinion, but no one is entitled to their own facts. You get half a story from Mr. Lombardo. Do you believe a made-up story, or do you care about the truth? If you are truly leaders, you will do something to address personal attacks against those unjustly accused. I mean, really, think about it. People come before you, make wild assertions, and you do nothing. How about really addressing the allegations? Or asking speakers to lodge their concern in the proper venue? File an ethics complaint, call the police, whatever. You provide a forum for this nonsense. If you want to turn this chamber into a Jerry Springer show, then let's go. Put a topic on the agenda and have a kangaroo court. If it involves me or the school committee, as long as I'm serving, I'll be here to address it. But I won't be coming alone. It's bad enough that people tune into the town council for entertainment. Theatrics by some have brought political theater to an absurd level. Politically motivated personal attacks on elected officials, blackmailing potential candidates for office, and personal attacks on private citizens seems to be tolerated and even encouraged by some on this council. Town government is becoming unstable. Good employees are leaving, and those that stay are bringing lawsuits against the town. A drop in bond rating that will impact all taxpayers is not the only potential manifestation of unstable government. It can get a lot worse. Westerly is heading down a sad and dark path in its history. It's all under your leadership. You were elected to lead. Please do it. Grow some spheres and restore some civility to town government before some real problems present themselves on your watch. Thank you.